Good afternoon. Welcome to our session about the MSc and Diploma in Biosafety in the Faculty of Science and Technology at the University of the West Indies, Cable Campus, Barbados. This afternoon, we'll be telling you more about our exciting program in biosafety, the courses, the lecturers, and what you can do with your diploma and MSc in biosafety. So, who are our students and where do they come from? Our students come from across the region. We have had students in this program from Belize in the north to Suriname in the south and everywhere in between. We've had students from the Bahamas, St. Kitts, Dominica, St. Lucia, Barbados, of course, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Guyana. We welcome international students, and we also welcome students from around the world who want to do maybe a module or so, and even students locally who would like to do a single unit in our program. So we welcome you all to our program in biosafety. So when this program started in 2014, it started as a 15-month full-time course of study, looking at all the aspects of biosafety. The program has a core of 24 credits. This relates to 2 courses a semester in each semester. Then there is 1 elective in the summer period. If the class is small, then you would select only one of these courses. And then we end that with a capstone or research project consisting of 9 credits. If you're doing the diploma in biosafety, you don't have to do the research project. The students who do the diploma will only be doing their program in 12 months rather than 15 months. And bear in mind that this program can be completed as a part-time or full-time course of study. And of course, part-time would be a longer period of study than full-time. All the courses in our program, they're offered in an online virtual format, except the laboratory course, which is done in the summer period, usually in June or July, as a 2-week session. The 1 week of online education before the workshop-based, full practical intensive sessions that take place in the lab is conducted every year in the summer period during the program. Like I said, the program began and was based on meeting the international agreements, mostly from the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, and its main aim at that point was to train Caribbean persons in biosafety. We have since looked abroad and would like to broaden the program to include all persons internationally and trained persons in biosafety. We want to basically increase the pool of persons who understand the risks involved in biotechnology and applying those practices in a safe fashion. So we also within this program demonstrate or show the different skills in biotechnology, especially through the lab course. We also do that in a theoretical course in the 2nd semester. So within that program, we also engage in risk analysis and risk management, especially as it pertains to understanding the risk involved in biosafety. And like I said, we simply try to satisfy all the multilateral arrangements that we've signed that speak to biosafety, biotechnology, and so on. As the program coordinator, I usually engage with the students before they even begin their classes on whether or not they have fully submitted all their documents and are ready to start the program without having to worry about missing documents required by the School for Credit Studies. So we normally check and we run through a checklist with you about whether or not you have all the documents submitted, whether you have completed your registration package, and whether you've gotten a campus email, which is particularly important because we're doing the program in a virtual and online session manner. And also whether you have your campus ID card. And last but not least, whether you've introduced yourself to your fellow students in the course page as we normally instruct you to do. This is very important because we need to see who you are, have a physical representation through your photograph, and your peers also need to get to know you through that photograph. Like I said, the program consists of 2 courses each semester. These are fairly large courses, and each semester you're doing 12 credits. In the first semester, you're doing Introduction to Biotechnology with Dr. Rowe. Then you begin to do Biosafety and Environment with Dr. Clark Jordan. This is followed in semester 2 by again 2 courses, again with 12 credits. Dr. Clark Jordan, who teaches the risk analysis, and then Dr. Stout, who looks at the biosafety of genetic modification of organisms. This is followed by the summer courses where you meet Mr. Fred Phillips, or you meet myself and Dr. Rowe again, where you choose one of these courses. Now, if the class is small, like I said, you'll only be putting on one of these courses for the entire class. The lab course is a 1-week intensive period of study, and also another week followed in the lab where you get hands-on practical skills in biotechnology and also biosafety practice. If you're doing the diploma, that's the sum total of your program. However, if you're going on to the M.Sc in biosafety, you must do the research project, which is with 9 credits, and it starts at the end of the summer and goes into semester 1 of the following year. This is done with Dr. Clark Jordan and myself, and it's mostly research-based studies that culminates in a presentation and also a report that you would submit to us. So, who are facilitators or lecturers in this program? Well, I'm Dr. Alleyne, and I'm the program coordinator. Then we have in the first said Dr. Clark Jordan and Dr. Rowe, who takes the first 2 courses. Then you meet Dr. Rowe and Dr. Stout in second semester for the following 2 courses. And in the summer period, you meet myself, Mr. Fred Phillips with the legal course, and Dr. Rowe again. And you end the program with myself and Dr. Clark Jordan, who would be responsible for the research project. The courses are all conducted in laboratory course in a virtual online setting where you are, as mature learners, asked to self-learn. What I mean by this simply is that we post our lectures on a weekly basis for each unit in each course. So each unit is somewhat like a module to engage with the material, engage with the questions, engage with the material through things like quizzes and so on, and essays and so on. And then we have chat rooms where you can meet with your peers, do group work with your peers. So these chat rooms are informal or formal, and in that way you get to work together and even submit group assignments through that means. But we don't leave you alone. We also schedule periodic meetings where we meet you in what we call our online but in-person settings. And these are periodically scheduled in each course so that you meet your facilitator or lecturer and you meet each other. And so we keep you on track. We also are available as lecturers in each unit, in each course, online, by email, WhatsApp groups, and so on. So we're always available to communicate. So you can always communicate with us, and we can always know where you are, how you're doing, do reflective exercises, and make sure that you are still on track. So let's look at this program a little bit more in detail. This program began when we understood that we can modify organisms. We can manipulate the DNA in organisms. And like I said, the program began when we had signed 21 years ago the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. And this international program sought to protect our biodiversity and make sure that any biotechnology protocols were done in harmony with nature and the environment. So because the genetic modification first seemed to appear mostly in plants, and plants are our main source of food, our concern was running truly with the use of these organisms as food. And so we looked mostly at agricultural or plant biosafety. And so we looked at things like how can we manipulate DNA, first begin with and understand the process for making plants tolerant to diseases. How can we make plants have a longer shelf life, different color, even a shorter ripening phase, things like that. How, when we do this, is that going to affect the food that we're eating? So in this program, in this course with biotechnology that you do, Dr. Rowe, we first begin to explain to you how these modifications are made, and ultimately we look at the proteins that do the jobs that we're targeting. We don't only look at animals because we don't only look at plants, sorry, because animals are um, key and they are being modified as well. For example, the first animal that was modified was Dolly the sheep. We do have genetic modification in cows to make milk and so on. So it's very important to understand how these are done and where and how they're used. So for example, many of us would be using, for example, corn oil or tomato ketchup, corn flakes, and these, for the most part, may be modified plant material that are processed into these industrial products that we use. And so while some places like in the EU, there are strict restrictions. In the US, the restrictions are not as heavy, but in both places, Brazil, the EU, North America, these GM crops are being used to make food sources, and we have to understand how that is done. That's why it's very important. So in the course biotechnology, we begin by looking at DNA, its structure. We then look at RNA, and then ultimately, we look at the proteins that are made from that RNA. And the proteins are what is doing the work, or ultimately, the molecules that go on to do and express themselves in these various ways that I spoke about earlier. Things like resistance to diseases, proteins would be the ones that would show up when we look to examine new flavors and so on. Since 1995, the world has seen an expansion in GM crops. For example, last time we checked in 2019, we have here almost 200 million hectares in GM crops grown worldwide. And this is things like corn, um, we're talking tomatoes, soy, beans, rice, a wide range of crops. And so while there are strict restrictions in the EU, less so in the US, these things are being imported and they're in our food sources. So in one of our courses, we focus on how do we monitor these GMOs before they're made, before they're released, sorry, so pre, and also when they're released. We also look at the decision making, what is involved in implementing this release into the environment. We look at these programs and examples of these programs around the world, not just in the Caribbean. In doing so, we also examine the ethics involved in biosafety, and we, in the legal course with Mr. Fred Phillips, we engage our Caribbean laws where they exist and government policies in relation to biosafety. We also in the program look at biosafety and the environment. And like I began with, we begin with agreements like the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, the Nagoya Protocol, for example, GM crops. basically, and the genes, how they flow from these crops into the environment, all our genetic resources. We look at maintaining our biodiversity and what happens in the environment when this happens. And all of this is done in the course called Biosafety, Biotechnology, and the Environment. So where are our students after the program? Where do they go? What do they do? And there are several career streams for our students. We have had students who, after graduation, have gone into the world of health. And so we've had students, for example, who may have gone on to use the biosafety training in the health arena as um, clinical laboratory specialists, for example, or even we have had one student who's a medical rep who's used his training to enhance his work in that area. We've had students who've gone on to work in industry, both manufacturing and in the food industry, and use their biosafety training in that sphere, for example. Many students continue with education and continue teaching about biosafety in high schools, if they're teachers, and other spheres, if they're in any kind of education. They may also go on to educate about biosafety in a non-traditional fashion using the public sphere. We also have many students who continue to work in laboratories and may engage the biosafety from that aspect, where they may become biosafety specialists. And even if they're in a job where they're the only ones with that training, they may be the occupational person, that health and safety person that can give some aspect of biosafety to their workplace. We've had several students who have pursued higher degrees since completing their program, that is going on to a PhD with their degree. And we've also had students who continue to work in the government sector in regulation in terms of biosafety. This has been true for countries like the Bahamas, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts. So where do we go from here with our biosafety program? Currently, we are exploring and developing new courses. We are looking to expand our offerings in food biosafety because we recognize that food biosafety is critical to our development in terms of how we import most of our foods, and also too from the point of view that many of our students end up working in food manufacturing concerns. We are also looking to develop new courses or modules of courses in clinical biosafety, as there's a growing demand for that. And this is currently under development as we speak, but you can still find elements of these aspects of biosafety in our current offerings. We're even exploring the area of renewable energy and biosafety because we understand that is a growing sector, and the whole idea about how do we use these organisms in for renewable energy and the impact of that, and how do we do that in a very safe fashion. So we are looking at ourselves as a course after some years and trying to improve what we offer to you, our students. I will now pass on to Dr. Shane Austin, who is our departmental coordinator for graduate studies, to tell you more about our department and what our department can do to assist and support you as a graduate student in our program. Dr. Austin?
Thank you very much, Dr. Alleyne. And I'd like to first thank all of you for showing interest in this biosafety program. As Dr. Alleyne mentioned, I'm the graduate student coordinator in the Department of Biological and Chemical Sciences. And I should mention that this biosafety program is housed in a multidisciplinary department, as the name suggests. We have persons who are interested in a number of areas of both the biological and chemical sciences. And we do offer research degrees, though that's not the focus of what we're talking about today. Our students carry out a wide range of research topics. So if we could advance to the next slide, you'll actually see some of the biological science topics that our students actually conduct research on. As I had said, Your biosafety program is our only top masters, and we're very excited to have this in the department because it complements our research offerings well. So here you see an image of one of our students who's actually carrying out field work. She's in the ecology stream analyzing corals in one of her experiments, but we've had persons in a wide variety of experimental settings from biochemistry, biology, microbiology. We've had persons do work in malacology, some in entomology. We have various plant disease specialists, and even some focusing on genetics of some of our local crops, including things like sheep. But in addition to that, we're not only a department of biological sciences. We do have persons who focus on the chemical sciences as well as the environmental sciences. We have specialists in synthetic organic chemistry as well as inorganic chemistry and environmental chemistry. On top of this, we have persons who are in non-laboratory based chemistry disciplines, including both physical chemistry, computational aspects, as well as chemical education. And we have a small but increasing number of environmental scientists in our department who work quite hard at the research aspect. But you're here to hear about your role and your how you will fit into the department as a top master student in your biosafety master's program. So Dr. Alleyne has done a very good job of actually explaining to you the importance of each of the courses. And you see these shown here again on the slides in mentioning also how those courses are delivered. As you can see, there are some links clearly to some of these courses and what's done in the department, the research conducted by other members of staff. So it was a natural, obvious place for this program to be housed. Interestingly, the program is accepting admissions from this coming academic year, so 2021 to 2022, and this is the cohort that you would join. Dr. Alleyne also mentioned, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll actually see a photo of Dr. Alleyne and some of her graduates from this program. We've had a very great success over the last few years delivering the program and allowing our graduates to spread throughout the region. So you're really joining a program that is vested in a department that has a keen interest in it and the content that we're delivering. So what could you expect as a student in this program in our department? And on this next slide, what you're going to see is you're going to see some of the things that you will get, what the department has in order to support you. Obviously, the program is a primarily online-based program, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a voice or you don't have representation. Within the structure of the M.Sc program, a student representative will be selected, and this student representative will be your voice to the faculty and to the department about issues you may have in the course or things that you might want to commend or applaud that are occurring in your program. So it's important to know that you're going to have a voice in the department. You're going to have a voice not only as a student who might be in an online program, but basically you do have a say about how things are being run and the impacts that some of the decisions the campus may be taking might be affecting your program. This is communicated to us via staff student liaison meetings where your student representative will bring these issues to the department and to the faculty as a whole. Not only though is this this is not the only avenue for communication. Within our department, we actually have a group that not only consists of our own research postgraduate students and some members of the biosafety program, but it also consists of recent alumni. And it's a great opportunity for you to interact with persons who might be outside of your program, still in a virtual setting. So a lot of the interaction that we have in that group is via WhatsApp. The group is called Spark for Sparking Science or Sparking an Interest in Science. And as I mentioned, it's a really good place to interact with our alumni, interact with our current students and members of your program at the same point in time. Outside of our department at a wider campus level, we do have a postgraduate student association, and this is also an excellent opportunity for you to be supported in your journey as a postgraduate student at the KFL campus. There are several social activities that are organized. Those online students, you may not be able to make full use or take full advantage of all of those opportunities, especially in this COVID-19 environment. Currently, there are a lot of virtual seminars on writing, grant funding, surviving as a graduate student. And I'm pretty sure that as we continue to do more of these virtual events and virtual learning, we're going to have more and more information on coping in a virtual environment. The last and probably one of the more important things I want to mention is, as a part of your degree, if you choose to do the M.Sc in biosafety, you'll have to conduct a research project or a capstone project. And for some of your projects, you might find it quite useful to actually request funding from the campus. And very recently, the campus has taken a decision to committing some funds to students in top master's programs to assist you with research. We know that students in top master's programs do very excellent research, and sometimes the research that they put out is well on par, if not sometimes even taking the lead to some of our research students and what they're able to put out in that short space of time. So I encourage you to liaise both with Dr. Alleyne, or you can also liaise with myself or the Deputy Dean for Graduate Studies about the opportunities when it comes time for doing your research project to actually secure funding to help you carry out some of those studies that you may want to participate in, especially if they're field studies. I'm going to make myself available to anyone who has any questions. I'm always easy to contact. You can reach me via WhatsApp, email, or in the case of if you are someone who's physically in Barbados and has the opportunity to just pop by my office if I'm there, you can do that. But for now, I think email and WhatsApp are the best modes of getting in contact with me. That's it for me, Dr. Alleyne. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add in terms of the support mechanisms the department has to offer to your students in your program.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. And I think you've done a very good job in telling our students what kind of support is available for them in the department. And so they know that there's a place for them to call home beside our biosafety program. The department is very supportive of them. So as we end this little session here, I will just recap in a short video more about our biosafety program for you. And as you see here, this is the link for more about the program in this brochure that is housed in the School for Graduate Studies on their webpage. You can go online, click that link and find out more information about our program that you would have missed here today. And if all else fails, then we are available to take your questions and any concerns you may have about our program. I'm available, Dr. Alleyne, then Dr. Shane Austin is also available today, as well as Dr. Clark Jordan to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your rapt attention, and we look forward to seeing you in our M.Sc or Diploma in Biosafety at UWI Cable Campus in the future. Thank you.